It's the thought that keeps you staring at the ceiling at 2 a.m., fighting every urge to grab your phone. You've done it, you've gone no contact, you've built the wall, but your mind won't stop poking at it. What are they doing right now? You picture them sleeping soundly, completely unbothered, or maybe laughing with someone new, like your name never even existed. That image is the narcissist's last real weapon against you. The idea that while you're suffering in silence, they're out there thriving in peace. But here's the truth. Your imagination is lying to you. What's actually happening on their end of the night is messier, darker, and far more pitiful than you'd ever guess. You've built them up in your head as these untouchable, emotionless machines that just switch off at night. That's not reality. Once the sun sets and the daytime noise fades, the narcissist steps into their own private hell. Nighttime is the enemy of a narcissist because night demands stillness, and stillness is exactly what they can't survive. In that quiet, the one thing they've spent their whole life outrunning finally catches them, themselves. You're sitting with grief. They're sitting with a slow-motion identity collapse. While you're healing, they're haunting their own house, pacing like something trapped, chasing a fix that isn't coming. Let's kill the myth of the happy ex right now. You see the midnight social posts, the party pictures, the vague quotes about freedom, and your brain reads that as them moving on beautifully. It's not that. It's theater, genuinely happy. Regulated people are asleep at night. They're resting. The fact that a narcissist is wide awake, posting, performing into the void at 1 a.m. is actually proof they're unraveling. They're not living their life. They're broadcasting a signal, hoping someone, maybe you, is still watching. That's not living. That's flailing in front of an audience. So the real question isn't, what are they doing? It's, are they thinking about me? And yes, they are, just not the way you're hoping. There's no warmth in it, no nostalgia. What's there is a tangled mix of anger, obsession, and paranoia. You're the missing puzzle piece. You're the appliance that somehow unplugged itself without their permission. Your absence has ripped a hole in their nightly supply and they can't patch it. So they lie there, replaying the breakup over and over, trying to rewrite it so they come out on top. But in the quiet, some part of them knows they lost. You've probably been conditioned to think you need them to get through the night. The truth is actually the reverse. They needed you to get through theirs. You were the nervous system regulator. You were the body in the room that soaked up their anxiety. You were the ear that sat through their endless monologues. Now that you're gone, all they have left is their own toxic noise bouncing off the walls, with nobody to blame, nobody to yell at, nobody to dump it onto. They're alone in a room full of mirrors, and they can't stand what's looking back. This is basically going to be an hour-by-hour tour through a narcissist's night during no contact, from the manic scrolling that starts in the early evening, to the paranoid surveillance of the witching hour, to the eventual crash before dawn. We're pulling back the curtain on what's really behind that mask of, I don't care. Spoiler. It's not someone living their best life. It's someone trapped in a loop of digital stalking, self-medicating, and scrambling for validation. They're not thriving. They're barely holding it together. Why does any of this matter to you? Because as long as you believe they're happy, some part of you will keep being tempted to break your own silence. As long as you believe they've won, you'll feel like the one who lost. You need the real picture so you can actually let go. Your silence isn't leaving you powerless in the dark. It's setting off a chain reaction in their life that they cannot control. You're not the one hiding in the shadows here. You're the reason their whole system is malfunctioning. They expected you to be the one pacing the floor, refreshing their profile, waiting by the phone. Instead, when your name doesn't show up in their story views, when your texts stop lighting up their screen, it creates a vacuum, and that vacuum terrifies them. They'll check their phone 50, 100 times a night. Not because they miss you as a person, but because they're panicking that you might have actually truly moved on. Your indifference has become the monster hiding under their bed. Let's walk through what their nights actually look like. The digital hunting, the arguments they have with people who aren't even there, the private shame spirals nobody sees. While you're slowly relearning how to fall asleep peacefully, they're sliding into something closer to permanent insomnia. Night used to be their playground. Now it's their courtroom, and the verdict keeps coming back guilty. To really get what's happening, you need to understand something like a supply deficiency. During the day, they can numb themselves with work, small talk, whatever background noise the world offers. But once night falls, all of that dries up. People go to bed, the messages stop, the compliments stop, and that triggers something close to biological panic in them. Without a constant stream of outside validation reminding them they're special, their sense of self starts to crack. They feel that emptiness yawning open. They're not awake because they're peaceful. They're awake because they're starving. The first stage of the night is the digital stalking ritual, and it's not a casual glance at your profile, it's a full dissection. Burner accounts, fake profiles, anonymous viewing tools, whatever it takes to watch you without being seen. They're hunting for evidence that you're miserable because that would feed their ego. See, she's falling apart without me. But if instead they find evidence that you're doing well, a smile in a photo, a night out, you looking genuinely happy, that lands like a direct hit to their ego. They'll zoom into your pictures pixel by pixel, eaten up with envy and resentment, furious that you're building a life they no longer control. From there, it moves into a kind of frantic hunting for a replacement fix. Since they can't pull supply from you anymore, they go looking elsewhere, fast. Dating apps get opened, swiped through manically, not because they're looking for connection, but because they need a hit of dopamine. Old exes from a decade ago get a random message. People they claim to despise get a late night "you up?" This isn't about desire. It's panic dressed up as flirtation. They're just hunting for any mirror that will reflect something back at them before they feel like they disappear completely. It's frantic. It's undignified. It's need with none of the disguise left on it. Around 1 a.m. comes what you could call the phantom arguments. Picture them pacing their living room, having a full conversation with someone who isn't there, you. In this imaginary version, they're the hero. They rehearse comebacks they wish they'd said in real life. They type out a cruel, manipulative message, delete it, rewrite it, delete it again. They're fighting a ghost, trying to win a fight that ended a long time ago, because some part of them can't accept that your silence is actually final. The substance use tends to ramp up at night, too. Alcohol, drugs, porn, food, whatever numbs the inner noise. This isn't recreational for them. It's closer to self-medication, an attempt to dull the unbearable weight of their own emptiness. The whole night can blur into a kind of consumption loop, consuming substances the same way they once consumed you, greedily, without ever actually savoring it, just trying to fill a hole that never stays full. Then paranoia creeps in during what people call the witching hour. Without you there to talk them down or reality check their spirals, even if they resented you for doing it, their mind starts constructing elaborate, twisted narratives. She's definitely with someone else. He's telling everyone my business. Everyone's laughing behind my back. They build entire conspiracy theories where they're the tragic victim of some grand scheme. This constant hypervigilance keeps their nervous system locked in overdrive, making real rest basically impossible. They're standing guard over a fortress nobody is actually attacking. If positive attention isn't available, they'll happily settle for negative attention instead. That's when you might get the out-of-nowhere 3 a.m. text. A single question mark, a cruel one-liner, a random sad song link. They're casting a line, tossing a pebble at your window just to see if a light flicks on. If you bite, even out of anger, they consider that a win, proof they still have a hook in your nervous system. If you stay silent, their frustration spikes even higher, keeping them wired and awake even longer. Underneath all of it, there's something close to a terror of losing a stable image of you in their mind. Your absence doesn't just feel like loss to them. It feels like erasure, like they're the ones fading away. The quiet of an empty house makes this worse, so they'll leave the TV running, music playing, lights on, manufacturing artificial company because true silence terrifies them. Silence is where the truth about themselves lives. If there's someone new lying beside them, that person gets scrutinized too. The narcissist looks over at them and feels nothing, or worse, quiet contempt. They start silently comparing this person to you. She doesn't sound right when she breathes. He snores too loud. Tiny, irritating details that wouldn't have mattered before. In the honesty of the middle of the night, the replacement starts to look cheap, like a downgrade they can never admit out loud. They know, somewhere, that they traded something valuable for something hollow, but pride won't let them say it, so that swallowed regret curdles into quiet resentment toward the innocent person sleeping next to them. At its core, the night forces them to face their own shame. All the performance and grandiosity get stripped away in the dark, and for a few unbearable moments, they feel the full weight of their own brokenness, the loneliness, the shame of relationships they've wrecked. But shame isn't something they know how to sit with, so it gets converted almost instantly into anger. Anger at you specifically for leaving them alone with themselves. The real turning point of their night hits when every distraction runs dry, the apps stop being fun, the alcohol wears off, the movie ends. That's usually around 3 or 4 a.m. The adrenaline of all that rage fades out and leaves behind this cold, hollow exhaustion. They have to lie down in a bed that used to have you in it. Your side is empty, a very literal, physical reminder that they couldn't keep you, that they lost control of the one thing they thought they had locked down. In that raw, vulnerable moment, the hoovering fantasy starts to form. They begin plotting how they might pull you back in, not out of love, but out of a need to punish you for leaving. They draft imaginary scripts in their head. I'll tell her I've changed. I'll say I'm sick. I'll bring up the kids. It's less romance and more military strategy, like a general wargaming an invasion. Just planning it gives them a false sense of control. It soothes them to believe they could get you back if they really wanted to. And with that comforting lie, they eventually pass out. Sometimes sleep doesn't even offer an escape. A narcissistic injury, nightmare jolts them awake instead. Their subconscious turns on them, dreams of you walking away, laughing with someone else, genuinely happy without them. They wake up with their heart pounding, drenched in sweat. Even unconscious, they can't get free of you because you represent the one unresolved thing they've never been able to make sense of. If they're alone, the strange rituals start. People who've watched narcissists up close often describe them doing odd things late at night, cleaning obsessively, moving furniture around for no reason, muttering to themselves, driving around aimlessly for hours with nowhere to actually go. These are just displacement behaviors, physical ways of trying to push anxiety out of a body that has no idea how to actually process it emotionally. The internal chaos spills out into the physical world because there's nowhere else for it to go. The social media surveillance hits its peak somewhere in here too. They dig deep, years-old photos, your friends' pages, your family's accounts, trying to reconstruct a picture of the life you're building without them in it. Is that a new shirt? Who bought her that? They turn into forensic investigators of your happiness, hunting for any crack they can point to. Sometimes they write messages they'll never send, long, rambling notes full of accusations, self-pity, and disjointed thoughts, typed out, deleted, rewritten, deleted again. It's an attempt to purge the poison, except the poison just keeps refilling itself. Eventually, underneath all the chaos, a quieter realization creeps in. They're bored. Deeply, painfully bored. Without the highs and lows of the relationship, without the constant cycle of chaos to keep them stimulated, ordinary life feels flat and gray. They miss the fighting. They miss the intense reconciliations afterward. They miss the drama itself. And in a strange, twisted way, they resent you for choosing peace over the chaos they found so addictive. They'll experience something like phantom vibration syndrome, checking a phone that never buzzed, certain they heard a notification that didn't happen. They're hallucinating connection because they're desperate for anything from the outside world to break through. Every time the screen stays dark, it lands as a tiny rejection, and it happens over and over throughout the night. At some point, the mask slips in the mirror. They catch their own reflection in the bathroom with no audience left to perform for, and what looks back is tired, older, harder than they'd like to admit. For a split second, they see exactly what they are. Then they look away fast, wash their face like they're trying to scrub something off, and put the mask back on, even though nobody's there to see it anyway. The night doesn't end in real rest. It ends in collapse. They don't fall asleep so much as shut down like an overloaded system finally giving out, a hard, dreamless, unrefreshing blackout. They wake up the next day just as drained, just as hollow, just as angry as when they finally passed out. Over time, all of this takes a visible toll. If you happen to see a recent photo of them, you might notice they look worn down, tired eyes, dull skin, a kind of exhaustion that makeup and filters can't fully hide. Constant cortisol, no real rest, night after night. It wears a person down physically, not just emotionally. Whatever charm or polish they used to rely on starts eroding from the inside. Their work life takes a hit too. Sleep deprivation brain fog makes them careless, missed deadlines, snapping at coworkers, losing their composure in situations where they used to seem in control. The discipline mask they wear in public starts slipping because there's simply not enough energy left to hold it up all day, every day. If there's someone new in their life, that person usually bears the brunt of it. Waking up next to someone running on fumes and simmering resentment isn't pleasant. The narcissist becomes irritable, checked out, quietly punishing about it. The new partner gets blamed in subtle ways for not being you, for not fixing what's broken, for simply being present to witness the ugliness. The devaluation phase with this new person often starts earlier and hits harder, purely because the narcissist is running on chronic exhaustion and misery. They also tend to become more accident-prone during this period. Distracted, foggy, careless. Fender benders, small injuries, lost items become more frequent. Their internal disorder starts leaking into the physical world. Keys go missing, wallets disappear, phones get misplaced, and each little loss triggers a disproportionate meltdown that ruins whatever was left of their day. Rather than fading with time, their fixation on you tends to calcify. Every night spent ruminating reinforces the same mental grooves until you become a fixture wired permanently into their psyche. They are, in a very literal sense, training their own brain to keep obsessing over you, night after night. You're the ghost in the house, and ironically, they're the ones keeping that ghost alive. Eventually, something closer to depression settles in. Not the sharp ache of grief, but a flatter, emptier numbness. Nothing tastes as good, nothing feels satisfying. The nights have worn down their capacity to feel much of anything, and they start moving through life on autopilot, a hollow version of themselves surviving on scraps of attention just to keep functioning. Sometimes the mask cracks in public too. Smear campaigns launched at strange hours, rambling messages sent to mutual friends at 4 a.m. That loss of impulse control starts exposing the instability they'd normally hide so well. People start noticing something's off. The narrative that once painted you as the unstable one starts to flip, because the cracks are becoming too obvious to explain away. Hoovering attempts, when they come, get sloppier and more desperate over time. The charm offensive fades because they simply don't have the energy left to perform it. It becomes blunt. I miss you. I'm not okay. Help me. They're not trying to seduce you back anymore. They're begging for relief. And that mix of desperation and unpredictability makes this stage both more pathetic and, frankly, more concerning. They end up living in a kind of distorted sense of time, nights that stretch on forever, months that blur together into a formless haze. They're stuck, unable to move forward because they refuse to actually process what happened. They're reliving the same miserable day on repeat, waking up each morning to the same hollow reality. And ultimately, what all of this adds up to is total isolation. Even surrounded by people, they're completely alone inside their own head. Nobody around them knows what their nights actually look like, because admitting it would mean exposing themselves. They're locked into a prison entirely of their own making, holding the only key and refusing to use it. So here's the truth worth holding on to. Their nights are not some carefree celebration. They're a sentence. While you're sleeping peacefully, healing, dreaming about what comes next, they're pacing the walls of a cell they built themselves. You are not missing out on anything good. You're missing out on chaos. You're missing out on suffering. You're missing out on watching someone slowly decay because they refuse to actually heal. So stop refreshing their social media. Those photos are staged, curated propaganda. They're smiling for a camera to hide the fact that they're falling apart behind it. Don't let a carefully edited highlight reel fool you into thinking their life is fine. The second that camera turns off, the smile drops, and the darkness they've been avoiding rushes right back in. That's their actual reality. Your no contact is a mirror they simply cannot shatter. By stepping away, you force them to sit with the one person they've spent their whole life avoiding, themselves. You don't need to plot revenge. Their own mind is doing that work for you. Their own company has become their punishment. So take your nights back. Your sleep is sacred. Your dreams belong to you, and nothing else. When you close your eyes now, you're safe. You're free from being watched, free from being judged, free from being quietly drained. You've walked out of the haunted house. Don't go back in just to check whether the ghosts are still scary. They are. You can pity them from a distance, but you don't have to save them. You can't sleep for someone else. You can't dream on their behalf. You spent years trying to soothe their nightmares, and it nearly cost you your own peace of mind. Let them sit with what they built. They made those demons. They can live with them now. The silence you hear at night isn't emptiness. It's peace. It's the sound of a life that finally isn't being drained by someone else. Let yourself sit in it. Fill it with your own breathing, your own thoughts, your own rest. The night belongs to you now. While they're out there hunting for scraps of validation in the dark corners of the internet, you're rising. While they're stuck dissecting a past that's already over, you're quietly building what comes next. It's not even close. You're growing and they're unraveling. Let them pace their floors. Let them scroll for hours. Let the panic set in. None of that is your responsibility anymore. You've officially resigned from the job of managing someone else's emotional chaos, and there's no going back to that position. Tonight, when you shut your eyes, picture the wall you've built around your no-contact, tall, solid, impossible to break through. On the other side of it, they're raging against everything they've lost. On your side, it's quiet. The air is calm, the stars are out, and there's nothing but stillness. Sleep well tonight. You've earned it. The monster stays locked in the dark. You're the one waking up to a brand new day.